Was the Prime Minister's visit to Srinagar on Diwali a disappointment? Judging by the response of most political parties, that certainly seems to be the case. But are they being fair? Is the Prime Minister's visit only to be judged by how much extra money he allocates, or should it be seen through other perspectives as well? That's the debate this afternoon. And now joining me to discuss the Prime Minister's visit is Congress spokesperson Ajay Kumar, National Conference spokesperson Junaid Azim Mattu, PDP spokesperson Sumeer Kaul, BJP spokesperson GVL Narasimha Rao, and also joining us former Chief Information Commissioner and former Divisional Commissioner Kashmir, Wajahat Habibullah. Junaid Mattu, your party officially welcomed the Prime Minister's visit to Srinagar before it happened. Now, after it's over, what's your assessment of the outcome?
Mr. Thapar, I think you rightly said that there need to be a lot of perspectives that we need to look through to view this visit and the success of this visit. We appreciated this gesture as a grand gesture from the onset of the announcement. As far as what amount has been announced, on the way out the Prime Minister has conveyed to the Chief Minister that the amount asked by the state government under the proposed package of 44,000 crores is under consideration, and this is a first step. If this is a first step, then we are not disappointed. If this is the package in toto and finality, then we are disappointed. And I don't want that to look like selfishness, but looking at the sheer devastation that has been caused, the state obviously needs a helping hand from the central government. So let us be optimistic. Let us not talk in terms of disappointment, the term disappointment right now. Let us be optimistic. The Prime Minister spent time in Siachen with the troops. The Prime Minister spent time with the flood victims. So that needs to be appreciated. We hope that the comprehensive package will come through and it will be finalized very soon. So we are optimistic. But if this is the package in finality, then obviously it's nobody's. There's no guessing that needs to be done, that yes, then we would be disappointed. But right now, there is nothing to infer that this is the final package, the Prime Minister, as I have said.
Okay. Now, Wajahat Habibullah, I want to ask you a question about the money aspect of this whole visit. Is the Prime Minister's visit only to be judged in terms of how much extra money he allocates to Kashmir? What about the fact that he restored a sense of press and perhaps even national focus on Kashmir, which had either earlier diminished or in some instances actually disappeared? Is that not important?
Well, certainly it is important. And I think the fact that he visited the troops in Siachen as they're moving into winter is certainly something that the nation will appreciate. And I'm sure all of us who have had a bit of an army background will appreciate. But in fact, the other aspect is that going to Kashmir and meeting a few people in the Raj Bhavan, it's hardly going and meeting with the flood victims. I agree with you that so far the money aspect is concerned, and as Junaid just said, if this is interim, then there may be more. A lot will, of course, depend. But what was sanctioned, what he announced was, also had no content. I mean, the administration doesn't quite know how much has been given for what. So they will have to wait to see how much is actually given. So I wouldn't jump to any conclusion with regard to the package itself. But certainly, I think that the fact that in fact, I had appeared on your program and you had been talking about this grand gesture of going there on Diwali and so on, but there was no real participation in any Diwali or any such thing like that. Meeting a few people in the delegation of the Raj Bhavan, all flood victims? No. I think it would have been better had he actually visited the site.
Wajahat Habibullah, let's take it step by step. Let's not put everything into one answer because it will be very difficult for audiences to follow. Let's first, Mr. Narasimha Rao, concentrate on the money that was given, which many people think is derisory. Then I'll come to who he met and how effective those meetings were. Given the devastation that Kashmir has suffered, given the fact that tens of thousands remain homeless, they've lost literally everything they have. Many turn around and say that sum of 745 crores is not very much. Some people even say it's niggardly. Now, whether it's a first step or whether it's part of a series of steps, as an opening amount, it doesn't look like very much. And since there's been so much expectation and anticipation, it feels like a big letdown.
I would tend to disagree, because on his visit immediately after the floods, I think a central assistance of 1,000 crores was given, and what he announced yesterday was over and above that 1,000 crores. and he said all the proposals from the state government are under consideration, and they have to be verified. And I must add here that we have the central assistance to Jammu Kashmir has been fairly large generally, but it has never been properly utilized. And I'm looking at some of the CAG reports. I find it horrifying.
That's the past.
No, that's not the past.
There are no CAG reports about the 1,000 crore given in September.
No, not this 1,000 crores, but generally the kind of public investments in Jammu and Kashmir have not given the kind of result.
Well, let's see whether that point actually works with someone like the PDP. The PDP are not part of the government. They're not part of the government in Delhi either. Mr. Kaul, do you accept that argument that because CAG reports suggest that the track record of central assistance given to Kashmir is that it's not been effectively used, some of it has not been used at all, therefore one needs to be slow and very cautious this time round when you give relief after the flood? Do you accept that argument, or do you think that in fact this is a wrong argument?
Karan, I'd accept part of that argument. I would accept the fact that, I mean, it doesn't require a CAG report. Even a child on the street of Srinagar will tell you that the local government has actually completely and miserably failed to utilize the whatever meager resources they had from various parts. You know, even the various budgets have been surrendered back to the central government. That's the kind of track record the government there has. So a part of that argument is correct, that yes, that they would like, that is why, if you recall, that the People's Democratic Party, when it went and met the Prime Minister, requested for an expert panel to be constituted right under his aegis, and who would function under the Prime Minister's office, and would actually, and the other good bit is that he did agree to looking at a second look at the reassessment of losses that have actually taken place. So that's why the figures that are being bandied about and the discussion that is ensuing is a little bit out of place, because they're looking at it again, they're looking at the losses. And I would say that if like you said, that this is an interim package and more of this is going to come depending on whatever the losses are assessed, then it seems not such a bad idea.
Okay.
And given the fact that symbolism is important also, and that he has put in, where he gets full marks in restoring symbolism and conveying the message that Kashmir is safe for everybody to travel to, sending a message at least for the tourism sector.
Dr. Kaul, take it step by step. Let's for a moment stick to the sums of money. We'll then come to the other points later on. Let's not confuse the audience by talking about everything at the same time. It's very interesting, Mr. Mattu, that your response, Mr. Mattu, it's very interesting that your response to the money was to say, if this is a first step, it's welcome. If it's all we get, it's not. You've had a very similar sort of response from Samir Kaul from the PDP. But I want to quote to you what someone from the Congress, PC Chacko, said. Now, I know Congress are not your allies after the elections, but at the moment, they're still in government with you in Srinagar, so they are your allies at the moment. And this is what PC Chacko said, that the Prime Minister visited Kashmir not for the benefit of Kashmir, but for his benefit. Do you endorse that? Do you second that? Unfortunately, our Congress spokesman is not able to join us at the moment. I can't hear you. Are you speaking, Mr. Mattu? Because we've lost the line to you.
Yes, could you please repeat the last part of your question? I lost you for a moment.
Yes, I was saying that unlike you, PC Chacko of the Congress party has said the Prime Minister visited Kashmir not for the benefit of Kashmir, but for his own benefit. Now, I know you don't have an alliance with them to fight the elections, but they're still your allies and partners in government. So do you endorse that view from your ally in government at the moment?
Mr. Thapar, since the very moment this visit was announced, we took a lead in saying that there should be no premeditated disqualifications or judgments of this visit. We have not talked about this visit in political or electoral terms. We have not treated this tragedy in political or electoral terms. When you asked me the first question, I spoke to you above and beyond partisan politics. I don't want to get into Mr. Samir Kaul's defining every human tragedy in Kashmir in NC-PDP terms. I don't want to do that. I don't want to disgrace my people.
And you don't want to do that with regard to Congress either. Can I stop you, Mr. Mattu? The Congress spokesman is with us, Dr. Ajay Kumar. Dr. Ajay Kumar, both the NC National Conference spokesperson Junaid Mattu as well as the PDP spokesman Samir Kaul have been at least partly welcoming of the sum of money the Prime Minister allocated yesterday in Srinagar. Both of them have said in their own different ways that if this is a first step, they would be happy. If this is all, then they would be disappointed. But at the moment, they're waiting to see. Now, in contrast, PC Chacko said on behalf of your party, the Prime Minister visited Kashmir not for the benefit of Kashmir, but for his own benefit. Why are you so churlish, and on what basis are you saying this?
Program ko bhi nahi suna tha.
Mr. Chacko? Sorry, I beg your pardon, Mr. Ajay Kumar. How do you respond to what Mr. Chacko said? Mr. Ajay Kumar, I don't think you can hear us. Pujat Habibullah, let me bring you in at that point. Unfortunately, we're having terrible trouble with that line to Mr. Ajay Kumar, the Congress spokesperson. Two quick questions to you. The Prime Minister said that his visit to Srinagar on Diwali will send out a signal that everything is fine in the valley and that this will also promote tourism. Do you accept that argument, or do you think the Prime Minister is going one stage too far at this particular point?
No, I don't see how that, the visit itself is going to promote tourism. We realized that he landed at the airport in a military plane and then went by helicopter to the Raj Bhavan. He did not drive around the city. He did not visit the areas which are devastated by the floods, the rural areas where there has been huge, I've myself driven around those areas, huge swathes of land where the rice paddy is all lying rotting. So, I mean, I really don't see how that kind of thing is going to promote tourism and that everything is fine. But yes, as I mentioned in my last visit with you, it was a gesture on a major festival, national festival, to visit the valley. I don't think he actually celebrated Diwali with the people. Yes, as I mentioned, he certainly celebrated it with the troops in Siachen, and that was most welcome. But so far as the valley is concerned, I don't think that is the message that would have gone across.
Okay.
Not to the people, not to the people in the rest of the country either.
Lasmar, you know, if you look at the Prime Minister's 3 or 4 hours, in fact, it wasn't even as long as that, in Srinagar, he went straight from the airport to Raj Bhavan, met some people there, and then from Raj Bhavan, he went back to Delhi. Should he not have spent some time visiting the camps? Should he not have spent some time seeing for himself the devastated parts of the city?
I think for the first time when he went there, I think he did an aerial survey, and he does have an idea about the situation there. This visit was primarily meant to go and reassure people of Kashmir, people of Jammu and Kashmir, to send a signal, to send a message.
Would he not have been more successful in reassuring the people of Kashmir if he visited the camps where they are still housed?
Okay,
Would he not have been more successful if he visited the areas where the devastation happened? When you do an aerial survey, you see a city underwater. It's only when you go there now that you realize exactly how badly it suffered. Does he not need that first-hand experience?
No, but the scale of this devastation is so large. Just going into a few camps would again be called a photo opportunity. So I think he was being more sensible. He met delegations of people from all walks of life, and he took a first-hand account of what's happening there. So this visit was not only meant to sort of understand what's happening there, possibly he would have had discussions with officials and understood the nature of relief operations that are going on there.
Sameer Kaul, are you disappointed that the Prime Minister didn't visit any of the camps, that he didn't see the devastation firsthand, that he simply went from the airport by helicopter to Raj Bhavan and back again? Or do you think, given the nature of a Prime Ministerial visit and given the nature of security, this is quite understandable?
I would tend to believe that had he gone out and visited camps, they would have enforced heavy security measures on the local population, which is anyway beleaguered at the moment. It would just put too many curbs on their movements, and it would have been very, very uncomfortable. So as long as he did meet a cross-section of the people, which included private people, academicians, tradesmen, people from all sectors, and who put forth their ideas and put forth their suggestions. And by the way, one of the main suggestions which was put forth by all who met the Prime Minister was that we don't trust the state government, and please can you do something directly.
Let's not try and make this party political between you and the National Conference. I know there's a tendency to do it because you're coming close to elections and you want to score points, but let's try and restrain ourselves just for today. Junaid Azim Mattu, the Kashmir Chamber of Commerce and Industry has said that their representative was dropped from the list of people scheduled to meet the Prime Minister. A, can you confirm as a representative of the ruling party that this is true? And if it is true, why did it happen?
I have read about it in the papers, and I would not be able to confirm or deny it. That would be somebody from the spokesperson of the government who would be the best person to do that. That said, the state government, the National Conference-led government, is committed to transparency, and would have believed that as many people would have interacted with the Prime Minister, we would have been for it. So, but at the same time, that this would be something that would be answered by somebody from the government or somebody who was managing the itinerary and scheduling of the whole day.
Are you, as a representative of the National Conference, disappointed that people like the Kashmir Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who presumably are critical, were not met by the Prime Minister? Does that disappoint you? Does it leave you feeling that perhaps he didn't meet all the right sort of people? A quick answer.
Mr. Thapar, I'm not privy to who was in the list or not, and I'm not sure about it. But Kashmir Chamber of Commerce is an important part of the reconstruction process, and there's nothing wrong in meeting them. That said, I don't know why they were dropped. So any comments that I make would be misplaced, and I don't have the accurate information to comment on this.
Very quickly, before I go to Ajay Kumar, the Congress spokesman, who I can see is now with us and hopefully will be able to hear my question when I speak to him, I want to put this to you. If it is true that representatives of the Kashmir Chamber of Commerce and Industry were excluded from the list and dropped from the list, many would think that that's a bit disquieting and disturbing. These are exactly the sort of people the PM should be meeting.
I think I have no way to really confirm what you're saying, but generally I think commerce in Kashmir Valley is of great importance. So there is no reason why he would not have met them.
Absolutely.
So I would tend to believe possibly there must be other reasons to it, or maybe they were not originally a part of this delegation.
Well, they say they were dropped.
I think it's difficult for me to really comment on this.
We have Ajay Kumar back with us. Dr. Kumar, I'm getting a sense from all my other guests, and they come from the PDP and the National Conference, that in fact they are not at this moment outrightly disappointed by the visit. They welcome whatever money the Prime Minister allocated, but if that's all that comes, then they will be disappointed. But if it's a first step, then they're happy with it and they wait to see what else happens. And they are much more receptive to the gesture the Prime Minister made. In contrast, PC Chacko of your party has said that the Prime Minister visited Kashmir not for the benefit of Kashmir, but for his own benefit. On what basis does your party say that?
Well, Karan, it's important to put it into a perspective, but I will just give you that Assam and Meghalaya also went through a similar situation, but the Prime Minister he should have gone to Kashmir, immediately followed up with Assam and Meghalaya. So obviously there is a reason to believe that there is an apolitical objective to it. It seems to be pretty evident, and our job is to just highlight a couple of facts to you.
But before you come to the facts, can I try and understand your answer? Your answer is that because the PM went to Kashmir but not Assam and Meghalaya, therefore the visit to Kashmir is political. Therefore you come to the conclusion it benefits the PM, it's not for the benefit of Kashmir. That's what your answer sounds like. Is that what you're saying?
Look, Karan, it's for you. It's for you all to decide. I mean, Assam and Meghalaya also went through it. Kashmir is a
not really for me to decide.
You see, even Andhra Pradesh, we had Hudhud cyclone in Visakhapatnam hardly about 15 days ago, and the Prime Minister went there also. He visited Visakhapatnam.
There's a very important point being made by Narasimha Rao.
Can I complete, Narasimha, because I mean then you have a chance to say on that.
Well, he's simply pointing out that the Prime Minister also visited Andhra Pradesh. Are you saying that too was a political visit?
And Assam was...
Let's not keep interrupting him.
One sec. So could I complete my point? I mean, let me complete my point, and then you can get Mr. Narasimham to intervene. That's perfectly all right. But I just want to complete and just highlight a couple of things. One of them is that the standard operating procedure is to give 1,000 crores of relief for any kind of a natural disaster. And you see the response, which was different, and I'm not highlighting it, but when it happened in Uttarakhand, and it's not that we are scoring points because it was the UPA government, but when it happened in Uttarakhand, immediately within a short period of time, a team was set up to study the devastation, which includes World Bank and everybody else. An assessment report was made. The figures came to 17,000 crores, and 8,000 crores was released. The fact is that the National Disaster Management is still headless. The fact is that there was nobody to coordinate on the ground. So I am saying that if the Prime Minister going there and visiting is fine and it is a nice thing to do, but if it's not in consonance with the relief being provided, one, it's not in it's because there's an election, and I like what Mr. Narasimhan keeps saying, that it is not political, but he keeps scoring political points.
Gentlemen, I don't want the two to quarrel with each other. Let me stop you there, Mr. Kumar. I'm going to put your point to Mr. Narasimha Rao. I'm stopping you, but I'm going to put your point to Mr. Rao. What he's essentially saying is that there is a differentiation, a marked differentiation between the way the disaster in Uttarakhand was treated when it happened and compared to the way the Prime Minister is responding to Kashmir. Yeah. Both in terms of the teams that were set up, both in terms of involvement of international agencies, and also in terms of the sum of money. So far, 1,740 is what's been given to Kashmir. He's mentioned a figure of 8,000 crores in the case of Uttarakhand.
The Uttarakhand disaster relief itself was a big disaster. The whole country knows about thousands of people who got killed in Uttarakhand, and whereas the casualties in the recent calamities, though still high, is running into 100, 200. Okay, so the Uttarakhand is not an example. I think they should actually forget about Uttarakhand.
Thousands have lost everything, like in Uttarakhand, their homes and their livelihood and everything they have. That is like
but I told you, this is just an initial assistance that the Prime Minister is examining. His government is examining the proposals or the...
How long will that examination take?
I think there is a process which has to be gone through. And Jammu Kashmir is not a state where you can... Secondly, on Assam, I want to...
I'm not going to Assam.
No, he talked about Assam. 1,000 crores, 700 crores has been given to Assam also.
Come back to Kashmir, which is the subject. How quickly will that process be completed? Just a moment, please don't interrupt, Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar, please don't interrupt. How quickly will that process be completed?
No, it takes a time, maybe about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month or 2 months. Certainly, that's the kind of a time it takes.
3 weeks and 2 months is a difference of over 100%.
No, you see, the fact that the situation is so bad, I don't think it's possible even to estimate the extent of damage immediately. But then there are certain norms under disaster management. Those norms have already been met.
When there are disasters, you expedite norms. You don't follow normal routine processes as a response to a disaster.
These are the norms for extreme disasters. Let
me bring in Mr. Mattu. Mr. Mattu, you said that the critical difference for you would be the follow-on, whether in fact the 740 crores is just a first step. How quickly would you like to see the full answer from the government in Delhi? Give me a sharp answer to that.
Honestly speaking, yesterday, as soon as possible. I just heard somebody say that the assessment process takes time. Let me assure you that the assessment process that has been concluded by the state government as soon as it could after the devastation is scientific. It is precise. We have explained in precise detail the scale of damage, what has who exactly where houses
I'm going to stop you there. I take your point. The
everything.
Important point is you'd like to see it as soon as possible, but are you prepared to wait
Absolutely.
up to 2 months, as Mr. Narasimha Rao says could be the delay? A quick answer to that now.
Karan, the question is, are the flood victims in a condition to wait so long? I mean, the winters are approaching.
This money is not for the flood victims. Let's get our facts right. The money that is to be given to the victims, there are guidelines. The Prime Minister has already announced during his September visit. So that money to the victims, what we are talking about is for
rehabilitation, and winter is coming and it affects people who don't have homes.
But the governance in Jammu Kashmir is such a big casualty. You don't have explained details for money spent in 2010-11.
Gentlemen, let's not go back to 2010-11. I think that's a red herring which you're drawing into the picture again repeatedly. I want to end this particular discussion there. Clearly, we've descended into politics. We began, I thought, with an approach that was much more reasonable, much more cohesive, but we've descended into politics. The acrimony that underlies differences in party opinion as we approach an election is surfacing once again, which is a bit of a pity. But my thanks to all my guests for joining me. Clearly, the Prime Minister's visit was a good gesture, but it's also created a lot of controversy, and it hasn't left behind a uniform opinion. That's it for this afternoon.